Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. I know it's been a long time between episodes, but unfortunately life gets in the way. I've had to put my efforts into other things. Um, so that's just the way it is. I got work and other commitments that I need to, consider first. But we're going to get back into it. So I'm just going to bring you up to date on where we are. Haven't had much time working on this car. But we managed to get a few things done, and I'm going to deal with a engine problem. So we'll get into that just now. So I'm not real sure on where we left off, but I can tell you I finally mounted the isolation switch, so that's one good thing. Got a little bit lazy and just mounted it there, but it's pretty easily accessible. I might eventually get some sort of push rod on the outside, but I didn't want to drill through any of these panels or the lights or anything like that until I was absolutely sure. So for the time being, that's good enough. So that's one thing. Got some seals on it, but what we did manage to do is go get some glass put back into it. So obviously new rubbers. I'm not going to put it in with old rubbers, but windscreen's back in the back. And we've got the front windscreen in and all of the trim back on. I'm still chasing up on some wiper blades of all things. I've got the wiper arms, but for some reason the wiper blades seem to be a bit of a pain to try and get locally. They seem to have gone away from the old cheapo plastic ones is what I'm chasing. But yeah, that's just something I've just got to chase up quickly. What else have we got? Nothing much has changed on the interior. I told you ages ago that we had the seat mount made. They're just sitting in there for the time being. They're not really in there. Obviously, we've got to put the carpet in. I've just been sort of fixing some niggly things like the shifter itself wasn't shifting properly. It needed a bit of an adjustment. In the lengths of the rods and stuff, it was sort of binding up. So, it's just every now and then I get a chance late at night, I'll come out and I'll start mucking around with some of this stuff. So getting it prepped to go onto the dyno, which ultimately I don't think it really needs to go on the dyno. Just moving it outside on and off the trailer, that sort of stuff, like to go get the glass done, things like that. Actually runs pretty good, so I think that carby is pretty much right. But in getting it ready to be able to take it to a dyno if need be, we've pulled the plugs. Now, unfortunately, just with a little bit of running around that we have done, number 4 plug back here has got some oil on it. This is the new plug that I've chucked in just to see if it was some sort of residue issue, but we do definitely have smoke coming out of the right-hand side tailpipe. So it is white smoke. It's definitely an oil thing. So what I'm thinking is happening is when I bought this motor, for you guys that know the story, you'll know that it was sort of already in a car. But what the guy's done is he's gone and I don't know why. He's pulled stuff apart. I'm wondering whether he has dodged me on a set of heads or something like that. I don't understand why he felt the need to pull the engine apart after pulling it out of the car. He's claiming he did it for good reasons, to paint it, clean it up, put new gaskets, that sort of stuff in there. I didn't want him to touch it. That's something that I would have done. I just wanted it, knowing that it was a good running engine, take it off him and then go from there. But I don't know what's happened in the meantime, but I will tell you that I do know that manifold has come off. So it is not uncommon for intake gaskets to be stuffed in their installation, and that's what I'm sort of leaning towards. I'm not really at this point leaning towards there being an issue with any rings or anything in that cylinder. I'm hoping not. I mean, when I saw it running, there was no real issues, and I do know that manifold has been taken off. So that's what I'm going to go attack, just get it out of my mind. Hopefully it is. Hopefully that when I pull this manifold off, I see an issue down in that back corner where the gasket hasn't sat properly or it doesn't meet up properly, or it's just got a little bit of vacuum sucking oil in somehow, because when you decelerate, that's when it starts blowing smoke out the back. So it's not really under load or anything like that. So that's why I'm not really leaning towards ring issues. I'm hoping they're not ring issues, but we'll get into this now, get it all ripped apart and see what's going on in there. Righto, all the bolts are out. Let me just get a real small pry bar to get it off. Just a little pry bar. Let's see if we can get this off. God, what has he done down here? It's finger painted it or something. It's so weird. I want to get leverage on it, but I don't want to damage anything, obviously. But might be reasonable to get smaller. Oh, he's obviously used a lot of ATV to get it to stick, but I'm hoping it's not gonna ruin what we need to see. I knew that was gonna happen. The exact port we need to have a look at, and it's ripped the crap out of it. But in essence, we can already see oil, and that should not be there. There's a lot of oil on the gasket itself that should not be there. So I'm guessing that's exactly what that problem was. I think it's exactly what it was. Oh God, look at the amount of oil down the back there. I wonder if that's from me. Might be when I installed that sender. I know I was looking for oil pressure coming out of it because this had a bung in it. I wasn't exactly sure if that was going to be. I knew it was going to be something, but that just does not make sense, but because, well, there's oil on both sides. I don't know if you can see that. It is very shiny on both sides, so I don't really like these thinner style gaskets. This is like that whole bottom is just flopping around there. So as you can see in there, it's definitely been sucking oil. I mean, that, to me, look, I'm no professional. I only stuff around with these engines in my shed. So, but to me, wouldn't petrol clean those ports? Just a small amount. I understand that there's probably some, you know, amount of grime that will be in there no matter what, but it's a bit unfortunate that, you know, it wasn't installed correctly in the first place, let alone where he got these gaskets from. I mean, they look like, I don't know where he got them from, but I've literally never seen something that's, you know, unless it was in a cheap rebuild kit, but that's, you know, it's almost like just a piece of cardboard. I mean, there's nothing good about that gasket whatsoever. So we'll get these good Felpro ones on here. We've got to clean up all the silicon that's in the end of the valleys, both sides, build this wall back up again. Because like a lot of people, I don't generally use those cork gaskets that go through here. They don't really work too well. You're better off just building up a wall of silicon and dropping the manifold down gently on it and squeezing it out. But obviously not that much. That's ridiculous. I don't know what he was thinking there. He's got way too much on the ends there, but yeah, we'll hopefully do a better job. Right, now we've got all that cleaned up. Let's test test these out. And that looks pretty good. So as I said earlier, these are a lot thicker, so I'm pretty confident that this is going to be fine. Now, on a bit of a side note, now that I remember it, is when we had it running, it had a bit of a vibration around sort of 2 grand. Now, unfortunately for me, there's a counterweight that goes on the Flywheel, and the kit came with 2. Now, I think it actually calls for the other weight, of course, that's not in there, because that vibration, I was putting it down to maybe the engine mounts were pretty solid, but I had another mate look at it, and he sort of agreed that it sort of feels like more of a, you know, exactly that. There's probably something, the wrong weight on the Flywheel, which sucks. But what I'm going to have to do is pull the gearbox out to get to it, because it's on the inside of the Flywheel, not the outside, if that makes sense. So gearbox out, clutch off to get to it. Now, the time to probably do that is right now, just because it's going to be easier to get down into those 2 bolts down the back end here, you know, without the carby and everything in the way. So I'm going to put this part on hold for a minute, and unfortunately go rip out tail shaft, exhaust, gearbox, get the whole lot out, just so I can get to that 1 counterweight, and then get it all back together, and hopefully the vibration goes away, or at least smooths out, because the last thing I need is, you know, for it to crush a bearing because of the wrong weight on that Flywheel. So anyway, we'll get it up in the air, start digging into that now. Well, as they say, there's nothing like doing a job twice. Everyone loves to do it twice, but, you know, here we go. At least you don't have to live through it. We'll put you in DeLorean time, and we'll see you on the other end. Almost got me. I bet you oil starts falling out of there. Yep. Really, I should probably just drop all the oil out of that, because it would make it lighter. And it's only going to spill everywhere, as usual. Yeah, I think we're going to have to do that. Oh, the heavy part's out of the way. Trying to get this fork out. Oh, maybe we just leave it in. What am I doing? Just leave it in. Alright. Now I can easily get to all the bolts. Silly, I haven't taken the starter motor off yet. I've taken the slave cylinder off for the clutch that's disengaged, so I just need to get this bell housing off now. I was hoping I didn't have to see this clutch for a long time, but here we are again. Hasn't even been on the road. Not liking that. I don't know what the hell's happened there. I don't know how it got heat in it. It makes zero sense to me. How the hell has that got two hot spots on it? So after all that, clearly I'd definitely like to waste time. So not that I could have, it's a solid intermediate plate anyway. We needed to get this off to get to the back, but I could have sworn that I put a bigger weight on here and I didn't even install the weight. So great. That's on me anyway, but you know, that's just the way it goes. I love doing this stuff twice, 3 times, but you know, it wasn't too bad. It's only taken us, an hour to get it out. So we'll get this weight strapped on the back there. That's definitely for Cleveland, the smaller weight. So yeah, I'll get that on there, get it all back in the car and start all over again. Well, the gearbox is back in. Save you from all the cursing and swearing and sweating and screaming. So got that bolted back in somewhat. Most of the bell housing bolts are in. We'll get all the rest of it back together and then we'll get back upstairs and get that manifold back on. Righto, back to the beginning where we were. Now we know these gaskets fit right. Glad I got the right part number. But even though the gaskets I feel are thick enough, I just want to give them a really thin layer front and back, so we get a good seal on them, because you never really know and you can't be too sure. So yeah, front and back, just around the ports themselves, and helps them to keep them stuck to the head too while you're trying to get it down. And whether it's obvious or not, the key is to try and get it to sit down perfectly where it needs to sit. It's not always easy because these things are awkward and heavy, but you don't want to be shimming it sidewards and wrecking all the work you've just done and moving the gaskets and mucking around. So slow and gentle is the go. Somewhere there, I hope. I can't actually see where we... Nope. Damn it. Right about there. It looks like we haven't got a bad seal on there, but I don't think I've got enough in there, unfortunately. I hope so, but God, I hope that seals up properly. I'm just going to go around, make sure they're all gently nipped down. Not that this thing's powerful whatsoever. Rightio. Right, I'm going to give that back a bit of a finger smear if I can get in there. I am worried that I didn't put enough silicone in there. No, it's squeezed out, it's good. Oh, there's plenty in there. But still pushing it back in. Try and get that to seal up properly. Alright, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed there's no leaks. Righto, that's everything back on, except for putting water in it. So the smart thing to do would be to leave it overnight, let that silicone set up and dry out a bit, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow, fire up, and you know, hopefully it all runs fine. But like as I said, you know, sucking oil in, we won't know until we drive it for a little bit how much that's coming through. But the telltale will be the exhaust. It was pretty evident that oil was coming out, or going through, the engine with the smoke that was coming out the tailpipe. So hopefully that clears out. There'll probably be a bit of residue and things like that to clear out, but hopefully that all clears out. So we'll get back onto it tomorrow and we'll fire it up then. All right, day 2. Went a little bit further and put on intake pipes on there just to dress it up a bit. But before we get into actually starting this and running it and getting it up to temperature, all that sort of stuff, I'm going to address this fan. Now, as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos, I don't have any high hopes for that fan, and it was definitely pathetic. So I'm just going to go and throw it out. Like, I really don't care. It's a cheap Chinese one. It's not moving much air whatsoever. And in a minute, you'll learn the difference. Now, what I've got, Maridine fan. Now, I've used these before, and this is the Champion series. So you can only be a champion, I guess. Oh, stuff knows what they mean by that. But you'll see, if I go and show you this first. Now, you'll see the motor on that. Now, there's nothing really stand out about, what the motor should be and all that sort of stuff. But if you look at how that motor is, not that you can see through the grill, but we come over here, that's the motor that's on these fans. That's the difference. That's the difference in performance between what is cheap and what's not cheap. These things are going to move a hell of a lot more air than what that thing is. So I've got it in 2 different sizes just because of that, the motor size. We're probably going to run into some clearance issues there. So even a smaller one, I think it's 12. This one's 12 and that one's 14. But even at 12 inches, it's going to move more air, than that one that's in there. So I'm not entirely sure of the actual size of the one that's in there, but I'm going to go quickly rip this one out, measure it up, get one of these in there before we start it, and we'll see a definite difference between performance once it gets up to temp and turns on. Right, I managed to get that in. Not much of an issue. Just had to move this out of the way to be able to get it in there with all the front end on it. So I'll leave all the front end off so you can see clearly how much of a difference that makes. That's the exact same size as the one that was in there in diameter. It's 14 inch. So yeah, we'll get it started now. Obviously, we're not going to know about the oil sucking in. I think it's going to be fine. I reckon 100% it's sealed up. So, but we'll bring it up to temp and just see how much more air this actually pushes through this engine. All right, guys, that's about wraps up this video for now. Look, the fan's probably no real big difference, to be honest. The biggest difference is quality and reliability. So at least that puts that out of my head as to if the fan's working or not. Look, it comes on a bit early. It comes on about 70 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. That's in Celsius. But, hopefully it stays on top of the heat. We won't know until we're out cruising in traffic and things like that. There's a few car cruises where you're literally, you're not rolling. You move a car space, you stop. You move a car space. There's a lot of cars down there. So that'll be the true test of this fan. Same thing. Won't know how we go. We'll know definitely. I think I'm going to take it back down to the dyno. Just make sure the AFR's right on it. So we'll know about that oil issue coming out, but so far so good. There's no real oil. There's going to be a little bit of residue coming through the motor and the exhaust and all that sort of stuff. So, but I think we've nailed it on the head with that issue. So, the other thing I did mention earlier is I was having trouble getting those wiper blades. I walked into a store, he had them sitting on the shelf, so I got them on. But in the next episode, I really just want to finish the car off. I want to get the carpet in, put the seats in. I'm going to have to get new seat foam and seat covers. Luckily, they're pretty readily available through a lot of manufacturers. So eventually we'll get onto that, but we'll just put them in the car now, get it on the road. yeah, the carpet's going to be an interesting one because it's moulded for an Australian Falcon. There is no mould for, you know, these cars in Australia. So it's going to be an interesting one to get it fitted in there. But, you know, this is the best we can do with what we got here. So anyway, we'll wrap it up now and I'll see you in the next video.